I am here today to talk about a book called The Trader's Son with the editor, Dr. Robert Runte. And we're talking about this today because the author has sadly passed away. And you, I understand it, took all of the rest of the books from this author to edit for him. I'm assuming you must have been good friends.
Um, we were reasonably good friends. I mostly knew him in a professional capacity. Um, I had been his beta reader for decades, and then at some point, I was senior editor at a small press, and he brought 10 of his books to us. So I edited those 10 books plus another one I did for him. And then I was in the process of editing his remaining books as he was sort of um, finishing up his legacy. He was getting older. And he sent me The Trader's Son on like a Thursday, and I sent it back on a Sunday. And to my surprise, he had passed away on the Thursday. So I ended up just making the edits that I had suggested to him. And his family gave me that and all the other manuscripts to see if we can get them published, because of course he would want all his work out there. And I don't know if you've seen the book. There's the cover, and quite accurately. There's a bit of a story to that too. The cover artist uh, grew up wanting to be a cover artist based on reading Dave Duncan books. And I grew up wanting to be an editor, partly by reading Dave Duncan books. So it's really great for us that we were able to do this for him after the fact.
Yeah, what a great legacy and connection to the project. Now, tell me a little bit about the book itself. Is it part of a series or just a standalone?
This is a standalone, and it's a bit unusual for him. It's a science fiction novel. He's better known as a fantasy author, but he did write a dozen or so science fiction. He had over 65 books traditionally published, most of them from the Big Five. So he was quite an established author, but occasionally something science fiction would occur to him, so he'd write that. This particular book is his most political. Um, it takes place on another planet. It has the basic plot is they've landed on the wrong planet at the wrong site, and everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. But the elite is trying to hide that from the colonists because they're on top of the society and they want to stay there, even though they know the society is on the brink of extinction. And while there's nothing in there about climate change or oil industry, I think it's pretty clear that it's a parable of us having a leadership that it perhaps is not paying attention to the climate emergency. But by setting it in another context, he gets away from all the political baggage that would go with a contemporary story about climate change, and kind of deal with the issues of leadership, but at the same time not pointing any fingers or uh, being decisive in devices about it. So I quite like it. The title, The Trader's Son, the other theme of the book is that people often live up to the expectations we have of them. So because his father was a trader/hero, everybody's looking for him to be the next revolutionary editor, leader, even though he's only 15 at the time his father's murdered.
A heavy
So
mantle for the
a
hero
heavy
then in this
mantle.
book. Yeah. I actually had a question about your work on the book. I guess when you're in editor mode, is it easy for you to enjoy the story as you go along, or are you analyzing it the whole way for potential problems and solutions?
Right. Those are not mutually exclusive. I really enjoy my job as an editor. As I'm going through, I mean, what I'm really looking for is if I fall out of the story. Duncan is probably my best client. He's an excellent editor, writer. So when I'm reading his book, I'm in the story. And then if I fall out, I go, oh, there's a problem there that we need to look at. But that's fun for me too. Um, and then, yeah, because I know Dave Duncan's work so well and had worked with him on so many books, like I said, before I was even editing him, I was one of his beta readers. Um, I can have this dialogue even when he's not present. So over the weekend that I was editing it and hadn't known he'd passed, I was saying, well, we should change this, and then thinking, no, he'll say this, and then I'll argue this, and then he'll say. So there was this whole dialogue going on in my head. So when somebody phoned me to say he'd passed away, I thought, well, no, that can't be. I was talking to him yesterday. And then I realized I wasn't talking to him yesterday. So um, it's a very sort of intimate process. You really have to know the authors that you're working with and share their vision. Dave Duncan was one of my favorite authors before I was able to be a beta reader or an editor. And it makes the process not only more enjoyable, but also easier because I can kind of think like him. And also because he was such a brilliant writer, he very seldom had mistakes. I think the worst mistake I ever caught was where he confused Gestapo and the SS, for example, in one of his books. And it's a pretty trivial mistake given 65 published books, right?
Wow, what a legacy he's left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And a
so
huge fan base, yeah.
yeah, I was going to say for the fans of his work, these next books, do you feel added pressure going through those?
This one, not so much because he had mostly written it and was mostly done. The next one that's coming out is similarly one that he had essentially finished. I just, tidied up a few loose ends. The sequel to that one is a bit more challenging, and it is kind of nerve-wracking because, say, the book is 2/3 finished, I have to come up with the last third. I do have his other beta readers. I do know them. So they won't let me put out anything that wasn't up to his standard, right? And I think I know him well enough to kind of channel what he would have done. But the funny thing is we had discussed that book just before he passed away, and I had identified a problem early on which would require some rewriting. And he said, oh, well, yeah, I can do that, but I'll have to change the ending. And unfortunately, I never asked him what the new ending was before he passed away. So I have to come up with it. And it's going to be a bit tricky, but I think I can channel his thinking because I worked with him for so closely for so many years.
That's
We'll do our best.
excellent. Yeah, I could not imagine taking on that challenge, but I think you'll do an admirable job, I'm sure. Robert, I don't have any other questions for you on this. Is there anything that you want to mention that I haven't asked?
Just that his second book is coming out. The launch for that will be in August at When Words Collide. It's called Corridor to Nightmare, and it's science fiction fantasy. It reads like fantasy, but there's perhaps some science fiction in the background. Advanced technology being indistinguishable from magic. But
Yeah,
yeah, I just buy the book. That's the main message here.
yeah,
His fans will be
absolutely.
really glad to hear it's come out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a fan of the genres, both the science fiction and fantasy, and I can't wait to see what comes of this.
Thank you very much.